Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about arrays in JavaScript. You know already what is array. We have covered that in data types part. For a reminder, let's say we have some scores that we want to save. So we have score 1, which is, let's say, 8. Then we have a bunch of others, second, third, and fourth one. And these are 6, 7, and 9. But let's say we have something like 300 scores. We can have all of them just like this until our score 300. So the thing that we use, we set our array and we give the score name for our array. And as you know, we use this square brackets to define our array. And now we can give our values right here and separate them by this comma. And of course, we can have this in strings. So let's say we have our array name of cars, and here we can give our values. So we have BMW, Dodge, Ford, and bunch of others. And pay attention that here we can use our line break, and that's not gonna change anything in our array. So let's have Nissan here too. We have another ways to declare our arrays. Let's comment this out. Now here, one of the ways is that we create our array just with this name and empty square brackets. And then here we select our position inside of our array. So we use our array's name followed by square brackets, and here we give the index that we want to change. And here we can have, for example, the first one to make BMW, and then we can have the same thing for our second item, which is Dodge, our third one, which is Ford, and last one, which is Nissan. And now if we just print our array, you can see here we got this sort of array going on. And if I make all of these in one line and comment these one out, you can see again we have the same result. But pay attention that we can have declare something here and change that in this way and by this syntax. So let's say we want to change this Ford to be Volvo. So here we write our array name, select our index, and overwrite the value. And now if we run, you can see this time we got Volvo instead of Ford. One other way of doing the same thing, and our third way, is that we can declare them by our new keyword. So here we have this name for our array again, and here we use our new keyword here and write our array right here. And this is the type and syntax that we use to declare our objects. And here we can give our values. So these are our values. I'm just gonna copy and paste them to here. Now, if I run the code, you can see again we are going to have the same result right here. And you know that we can access for any one of these by just putting our square brackets and type the index that we want. For example, let's say here we want index 1, which is this one. And now if we run, we got access to that. As you know, our arrays are objects, and we have 3 data types that they are child of object. Object itself, array, and our date, which is again an object. So here you can see we have this type going on. And if we want to get type of this cars, and we have method called type of, and if we use that and give our cars value to that, you can see that this gives us the object. But pay attention that you can again save some object inside of your array. For example, let's say here we only print our cars right here, but here we want to have our array, and inside of this we want to have some object. So let's say this has its name, which is temp, then an ID of, let's say, 25, and after this we want to have another object right here inside of our array with the name of rows and ID of 26. You can see now if we run, we got two objects inside of our array, and you know that we can have multi-type of data types inside one array. So let's say after this we want to have another number right here, and after this we want to have some string and some text inside of that. And when we print that, you can see we have our object right here, our second object right here, our number right here, and then our string. And if we want to get type of all of these, we can use this type of right here and access to all of our childs and indexes of our array. So in the index of 0, if we run, you can see we got this object returning. But if we use index 3 and run, you can see we got string, and our index 2 is going to be number, of course. And now let's make these all in one line, and we can access them just how we did with this regular array. And here we can have, for example, select our first item inside of our array and make that, for example, again our car brand. So now if here we print our array again, you can see we got this changed again. And of course, we can give this some object going on. For example, let's copy this from here, change the name to John and ID to 27. And if we run, you can see now we have changed this one again. We are going to talk about array methods in the next part, but one of the most used things in arrays is our length. So we can use our array name and then put one dot and write length keyword after that. By this, you can see that this is going to give us the length of our array. And pay attention that this is length and not the index. So our last index is 3, but the length of our array is 4. And we can use this to get access to our items. So let's clear this one and this one again and make this out of comment. So here we can have our cars array, and here which we're going to put our index, we can use our cars.length right here. And if I put -1 right here, it means I want the last value. This cars.length give us the value of 4, and -1, which means 3, is our last item. So if we run right here, you can see we got our last one. And of course, we can do any math that we want right here, and it's gonna work. And another thing that we can do with our array is our for each method, which again, very useful method. And here we give what we want to do with our items. So I want to console log my items. But if I use console log right here and run, you can see that we got this error. And we can kind of print this by removing those parentheses and giving this function name. And if I run, you can see here we got some printing, but this is not what we want. And that's because this for each function itself receives some function name here as parameter. So we need to define some function to console log our items. here we need to have our function right here. I call my function name as print, and we have parameter of brand right here. And after this, inside of this, we want to console log our brand. And now if we give this print function that we declared here to our for each method and run our code, you can see we got our items going on. And of course, we can have anything with this. You learned about concatenation, so we can have brand name is, and then concat that with our brand right here. And now if we run, you can see we got this type of printing and using all of our arrays values one by one. Rest of the methods are going to be in the next part. But one other thing that is very important is that when we want to define and change the values of our array, we use this square brackets, of course, and give that a new value. Let's give some numbers right here. And if I give the index, it's going to change right here. But here, if I change and give some name for this, for example, let's say we give this kind of name. And now if I console log my cars right here and run, you can see here, this is going to change to object. And now our cars is going to be object. And this is not what we want to have. So here, pay attention that we put numbers and not strings. And if we use this type of number as a string in our code and run our code again, you can see it's going to read this as number and change our index of this one that we declared and put right here. And the main difference between arrays and objects are we use numbers in arrays for our indexes and items ID or name, but in objects we use our named index. Another important thing that you need to know is that let's say here we want to have array of numbers of 40, 55, and 11 right here. This is one way, of course. Now we learned another way that we can declare some variable with the name and then give new keyword right here and our array object just right here and pass this the values that we want. So 40, 55, and 11 right here. And now if we print our array of car, which is cars, you can see here we got these right here. But let's say we only want to have one element inside of our array. If we declare this like this and run, you can see we created one array and we have only number 40 inside of this array. But let's say we want to do the same thing but with our second type and syntax. If we run this, you can see we got 40 empty items. And if we select each one of items that we have here and run, you can see we got undefined value returning. So if we use this type, it means it's going to create us some array with 40 empty spaces just like this. So these are empty and not defined. And if we want to have only one item, we should put one right here. And if I print my cars again, you can see we got one empty item here. And if I want to give the value, this is the way that we use this square brackets, then the 0 index, and here we give the value of, let's say, 40. And now if we run, you can see we got only one item inside of our array, which is number 40. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.